Welcome back to the Self-Indulgent Series. I'm Christy Fury, and the Self-Indulgent Series is basically me being in my self-isolation era, but I don't like self-isolation, so I'm saying self-indulgent because that's basically what I'm doing. I'm focusing back on myself and I'm leaning more into the things that make me happy, and also I've been on a journey where I'm building financial stability through my journey of building my dream life, and this is basically phase one. Today, we're going to be talking about things I didn't know before I started investing. I made a video recently just talking about my journey into investing and building financial stability, but I want to get more into some of the comments that were made. One particular comment that asked about my journey with RITs. So I'm going to go into a bit more of that and also outline some other things I didn't know before I started investing and I wish I knew. Before I start the video, I have to express that I am not a financial advisor. Your capital is at risk with investing. Do your research. To give some background on my journey with building financial stability in my 20s, it looked like me starting in my investment journey this year. Before this year, I've always been consuming financial content, learning and reading for about 6 years as much as I could. And then it kind of leaned into me realizing I need to take action. This year, I started investing and I have learned so much. And of course, I showed this graph, which was basically going into the different steps to building wealth. And you can see you have financial stability at the bottom, then you have financial independence, and then you have financial freedom. And of course, the goal that everyone says is financial freedom, but I'm using this chart for specificity. So we are in phase one, which is financial stability for me. And this phase is basically about me coming to terms with my budgeting, coming to terms with my investment journey as a beginner and a baby investor, but also leaning more into how I can maximize my income and the things that I can do in order to get me to that next level. I live at home. I graduated last year from drama school. I'm an actress. Yes, I graduated from Rosebery College with a first in acting, and now I'm a voice actor, a professional actor, and also a presenter. I have a voice agent that I got this year, and I've just been doing all other creative things that make me happy and make me fulfilled. I also didn't mention last time, I'm a filmmaker as well, but all of these hobbies and interests, I don't even want to say hobbies, this is my career, but all of these things require a lot of income going in, they require a lot of waiting. So I'm looking at other avenues of things that I can do that make me happy and fulfilled, and presenting has been such a great option this year that's given me the opportunity to meet people, to network with other creatives, and also to work and to be in the industry. And I've been having so much fun with that. Along with all of these other creative things, I am also working part-time at what you would consider a job that is basically brings income in. It's nothing to do with creativity. I work as a receptionist as well, and that just allows consistent income in times and in between auditions. My journey to wanting to build financial stability kind of can be summed up from this idea that I heard Viola Davis saying, which was you have only two people in your lifetime that you owe anything to, which is your 8-year-old self and your 68-year-old self. And I love this quote because you want to be the version of yourself that your 8-year-old self needed, that can be proud of, that can feel safe and secure around you. And you owe your 68-year-old self because you need to be thinking about what would life look like for your 68-year-old version. I want Christy, 68, to be thriving, living her best life, doing what the hell she wants. And I know everyone wants that. I feel like freedom is one of the things we deeply need, and we do things in order to acquire freedom, and it's like you need to tap into what is going to allow that freedom for you. And I feel like leading to freedom, in between that is discipline, and it's that I'm trying to maintain so that I can get to that point where my 68-year-old self can be thriving in that way. Also embodying those aspects now and enjoying what life is right now and being present, but also I'm thinking about those two versions of myself and what I owe to them. So that's what really drives and fuels me, hence why I save like a maniac. Okay, I am the queen of saving. I really do enjoy it. Hence why I realized I need to start investing my money so that I can grow my money, because saving isn't always the best way to grow your money and get to that pinnacle of financial freedom. Now, I'm about to get into the things that I didn't know about investing that I wish I knew. This is basically what's allowed me to have a financial glow up and allowing me to build financial stability from nothing. At the end of this video, I'm going to go into what I invest in and also exactly how I invest. And I know some of you want to know about REITs and how you can actually invest in REITs. I'll go into that at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But let's get into the first thing that I didn't know about investing. REITs stand for Real Estate Investment Trust. I have my notes here. Like I said, I'm a baby investor, so I had to make notes so I could be given accurate information and stay on track. So REITs are companies that own, manage and finance real estate. So you invest in companies that own commercial properties. So the money that the company makes, you also make once you buy shares. So the properties that these companies own can be healthcare properties, shopping malls, apartment complexes, supermarkets, cinemas, and offices as well. So you in turn, buying REITs, end up owning a piece of these properties as well. The main thing I love about REITs is the fact that it's very diverse. The idea of having to buy a house, have a large deposit, mortgage, and also maintenance fees for the property can be quite a lot and it can rack up. But instead, you own a REITs and you get dividends through someone else managing and doing all of the work for you, and you just doing your research. Essentially, they're just really accessible. So I earn dividend payments, which is a monetary thank you from the company. And according to what I've researched, REITs typically have to pay a very large percentage of the profits in dividends. So that's why I get dividend payments so regularly from them. At the end of the video, I'll share exactly how I invest in REITs. But that's basically the basis of REITs and how they work, and do your research again. The next thing I didn't know about investing is that you need to save before you start investing. I didn't know the importance of having an emergency fund. Typically, when you don't have an emergency fund and you start investing, when an emergency occurs, the only said fund that you have available to you is your investments. So pulling that investment out is going to affect your portfolio, especially if you're investing long term, like someone like me. I don't really typically like to mess around my investments. I don't trade stocks and do any of that. I just like to leave it there, and it's basically a long-term strategy for me. When you don't set up an emergency fund, you're going to have to end up going there, and you do not want, God forbid, to pull out your money when it is at a loss. So the best thing and the smart thing to do and the responsible thing to do is to create an emergency fund first. I didn't know this, and I typically ended up having to quickly rectify the situation. The reason why I was able to rectify the situation was because I live in my parents' house. I don't have any responsibilities other than myself. So that's something I could, fix real quickly. However, if there are other responsibilities you have, it's going to be really hard to then try and rectify that without having to pull out your investments. So if you're looking at people talking about investing and how amazing it is and how it's a great wealth building strategy, calm down, slow your roll, okay? Go and budget. Go in the description below. I have a budget tracker, a visionary budget planner that I created. Use that and budget yourself. See what your income and expenses are looking like for a month, and then create a financial plan. This is what personal finance is. Then from that, you're going to see how much you will need for a 1 month of expenses, 2 months of expenses, or 3 months worth of expenses. And if you're like me, someone who's a recent graduate, you have no other responsibilities other than yourself, 1 month is actually good. If you have more responsibilities and you have dependents, then maybe looking 3 to 6 months. Once you do that and you have that saved up, then start investing, because then you're going to be at peace. I'm telling you, that peace is underrated. It's so nice to know you don't have to stress. Do not skip this step, because you're going to end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like I said this before, but it's genuinely a fact. Another thing I didn't know about investing, well, technically before investing, is the importance of focusing on increasing your income. That is exactly where I am right now. This is the phase I'm in. I'm focused on income building and increasing my income, because there's only so much of an amount you can put into investing when you're not making that much money. As someone who's a freelancer, I know I have really good habits when it comes to my strategy and my saving ability and just my financial literacy in general. However, I need to now increase my income so I can keep applying these good habits and allowing myself the maximum opportunity to build wealth. So yes, I understand about investing. Yes, I can invest well and I have thousands in my investments already and I can leave it there, but I'm now only putting in the minimum amount for investing so that I can focus on building my income. So go and check out my digital products because they've helped me so much and I've designed them with loads of passion and loads of love and I absolutely believe in them, hence why I'm offering them to you. The next thing I didn't know about investing is that you can start with £10. So if you want to build a practice of just investing and understanding the stock market and ETFs and also stocks in general and what companies to invest in, or if you want to do index funds, if you want to do ETFs, what you want to do, and even just riding the emotional wave of seeing your money go up and down, starting with £10 is such a good way to start. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I used to think you needed £10,000 in order to see real returns in investments. And while that can be true, there's also a place where you can start with £10 and just build the habit and the skills and the understanding and knowledge of what it's just like to invest in general. Because another thing that I didn't know is the importance of practice. I've learned more this year while I've been investing than the past 6 years of consuming and reading financial content and financial literacy. Through the act of doing the thing, I've learned so much. Because you're putting your money in, you're more inclined to want to understand and learn and research what you're doing rather than just doing it passively. So that's basically what I feel like I had wished I'd done. And that's something I'm telling like my younger sister to do. Start off with a small amount so you can understand the market, you can understand how it works, you can understand what it looks like, what ETFs are, what index funds are, and you can start to practice rather than waiting for that large lump sum, because the likelihood of you being calm and collected when you're seeing your 10k go down immediately, because when I put my money in, it went down. I lost £2. I was like, bring it back. I literally was like, oh my God, I already knew what was going to happen, but I was like, just relax, just breathe. Even though I had consumed 6 years worth of financial and investing content, it was still shocking to see your money just go like that. No one enjoys that feeling. So don't wait until it's 5k that you need to practice now, and you'll be able to build the understanding and just the language and the emotional aptitude for that process. Okay, now it's gonna get a little bit technical. I'm gonna be reading from my notes here so that everything is correct, but we're gonna be talking about what is the difference between stocks, ETFs and index funds. This is something I could not wrap my head around when I first started investing. We're going to break this down. The first thing is, what is the stock market, right? The stock market is where people buy and sell slices of companies. So when a company wants to grow, they share pieces of their companies, which is also known as shares. And they share this on the stock market. And a stock is basically one tiny piece of ownership of a company. And as the company's value goes up, your stock in that company also goes up. If the company's stock goes down, your piece in that company also goes down. And of course, my favorite dividends is when a company shares its profits with its shareholders, you and me, to say thank you for believing in us and buying in us. Now we're going to explain what an index fund is and an ETF. So starting off with a fund is a basket of investments, basically companies in this instance, and a fund lets you buy a bunch of companies at once. That is it. For the life of me, I couldn't wrap my head around it. A fund is just a basket of investments. That's it. Now we're going to talk about an index. An index is a list that tracks a group of companies. I like to describe it as a list that tracks a specific particular type of company. And there's different lists. There's a list that tracks the top 500 companies in the US. And that is that particular index. Then there's another list that tracks the 100 biggest companies in the UK, and that's called the FTSE 100. So it's tracking the top performing companies in particular regions or parts of the world or specific areas. So let's say, for example, in tech, there's a particular index for that as well. An index is just a list. It's like a scoreboard. If someone is tracking these top performing companies in these particular areas. Another thing that I would struggle to wrap my head around, guys. So as we continue to the next part, you can't buy this particular index. It just is. It's tracked by a financial company, I believe, and that's just that. It's just a fact. It's just like a report being published and updated regularly to say these are the companies who are doing well today. An index fund is a basket of companies that is copying these particular indexes. Instead of trying to outbeat this particular index, we're just going to copy these companies that are doing well. And an index fund you can buy. Amazing. So the hard work is kind of already done for you. You are buying a basket of companies, so more than one, so you're diversified and there's less risk for you to fail. So the index fund is basically copying bar for bar what the index is doing. So if they take out one company, they take out that company. If they add a new company that's doing amazing, they add that new company that's amazing. So your investments can replicate these indexes in the exact same way. That is what an index fund is. And there are different types of index funds. So you can pick which index fund suits you, that you feel like is going to align more to your financial goals and your investment goals. And it just takes off a load of stress rather than you trying to manage everything and trying to do a host of research and outbeat the market. It's just basically how mutual funds are run, but I'm not going to talk about that today. The thing about index funds is that you can't trade them as easily as you would when it comes to stocks. From my understanding, it's only once a day you can trade an index fund. But now we're going to talk about ETFs. ETF stands for exchange traded funds. If you just put down what we learned, if we know a fund is a basket of investments and we know what index fund is, now if you put in exchange traded funds, it's just a basket of investments you can exchange and trade like you can with stocks. So instead of you trading one stock, you can trade an entire index replicating basket of investments. That's basically what an ETF is, and it's a lot more accessible, and you can exchange it more than once at several times in the day, I believe, rather than it just being one time like you can with index funds. But I'll read out my actual notes so that I'm able to stay consistent. So ETFs is a basket of lots of investments, basically a fund that you can buy on the stock market just like a stock. Instead of buying one company, you research and you can buy an ETF that holds 100 or 500 companies. The most well-known one that everyone talks about is the S&P 500 ETF, which is, we've learned this already, guys, the 500 top performing US companies. Yes. I think what the most appealing thing as well about ETF is the fact that it tracks the index just like how the index fund does. However, you can sell it in the same way you would a stock. I feel like what I find appealing is just the entry requirement, the accessibility is very affordable. What I've come to realize is with index funds, there is a minimum amount. It's not incredibly high, but also there's a reoccurring amount that you need to put in every month, which was something I couldn't commit to because I'm a freelancer. But now that I've got my investments into the thousands, my main focus, like I said, is building my income. Once I get a predictable reoccurring income, I'm able to do what most people do that invest in index funds, where they are putting a minimum of like £500 a month or a minimum of £100 a month. Regardless, my main goal is making sure I'm focusing on just building the habit of investing and taking it seriously. I'm a baby investor. I'm still learning. The next thing I didn't know about investing is the power of compounding. Compounding is the idea that you can achieve exponential growth. When you keep investing, your money is growing from what you've put in, but also the interest you've made, and that just keeps happening, and the growth graph just looks like that. I've done such a vague example, so go and look at more videos on compounding. However, the concept to me made so much sense when I started doing the calculations of what it looked like if I started investing with 100k, because apparently that's where the magic happens. But I already see the magic of compounding even though my investment portfolio is in the thousands, the power of compounding can happen in other areas of your life. If you make one good habit today, from a thought, an idea, to you putting that practice in, it being easier the next day to do, and then after some time, that's now your lifestyle and your new norm. And I feel like that's how I've always applied the power of compounding, and compounding my habits and compounding my knowledge and all of these aspects. But also the idea of the power of compounding in your finances as well is really, really sexy. The next thing I want to talk about is the concept of paying yourself first. Very simple. It's basically making sure you're putting your savings and money out of your income immediately and first, before you start putting your money in other things like bills and paying this person back. It's about focusing on taking that money out immediately and putting that money into your savings and your investments, because you're paying into yourself and into your future. Again, you're thinking about that 68-year-old self, and you're thinking about her, and you're basically putting money for her. 2 more points to go on what I didn't know about investing. The next point is how you can be hotter, smarter, and richer with just investing. The richer is obvious. I want to tell you how you can be hotter. You can get hotter through investing because you have to create a financial plan. And because I have a plan for my money, it means that I'm very much more intentional about the outfits I buy, the skincare I buy, the looks I'm going for, because I'm looking at things that solely work for me, because I am cutting costs on things that are necessary. I'm not necessarily less experimental. I lean in to my best attributes. I lean into the accentuating the features of myself that I know are standout features, like my face. I'm not going to be trying to like waste my money on other products or 50 skincare steps that I don't need, that's gonna, waste my time, waste my money, and also maybe make me break out. I'm going to focus on the tried and proven things that I know work for me, and I just eliminate all of that extra stress. And because I'm less stressed, I'm actually pouring more into myself. I'm looking at other ways to feel fulfilled. And that just makes you a hotter person. I like to look cute. I like to look fabulous. And that's how I've essentially been hotter through investing. And the peace of mind I've had, knowing that I'm taking care of myself in that way, that I'm loving myself in that way, is the version of me that I would say is the hottest. Smarter because you start to see how economic history has changed through technological advancements, and how we invest and how we buy things and the things we're interested in and why we're interested in these things. And you actually see the ecosystem of this world in terms of world economics and the structures that are created, and that in turn just makes you smarter. There is no way you can start learning about investing and you miss out on how we've gotten to this point to actually invest in a stock market in general. If you're curious like me, you want to know what were people investing before, and then you go down the path of world economics and the history of economics, and that basically starts to make links in your head, and you start to see where you fit within this structure and wealth in general, and that influences how you move. You start to now evaluate what you value, why you value it. The importance I'm trying to express is the importance of awareness, and that's something I had no idea investing would lead me to. The last thing before I give the bonus points on how I invest is I didn't know before investing that I could look fabulous and invest. Like, you don't have to be this person who wears like a black turtleneck and slicks their hair back and has no style, no personality, and it's just finance. No, financial literacy doesn't have to look a particular way. You can just be yourself. It's about authenticity. I can find ways to cut costs, but at the same time, get my favorite makeup product, and go to my favorite restaurant. The only difference now is I have to be more aware and I have to plan, regardless about food and whatever, but it's about being fabulous. It's about me being myself and not pretending to be something I'm not, and feeling like I need to look a certain way to be interested in finance, or to look a certain way to want to learn about finance. And I feel like this is a thing that I've talked about before on my TikTok, where I feel like girls are kind of conditioned to push this type of knowledge to the side because it's like a guy thing. And of course we know there are women in STEM, but I feel like when it comes to personal finance and financial literacy, it's just something that wasn't necessarily pushed towards women being okay with it, and the concepts being marketed as really complicated and really complex for our little brains to understand. Whereas actually, if you just sit down and concentrate, it makes sense. Being interested in finance is something I always used to hide. Like, I genuinely love reading about this I genuinely love watching content about this. I genuinely love listening to my audiobooks about finance, personal finance, and financial literacy in general. You can be fabulous and do that, girl. It's okay. Just don't get sucked into overconsumption and you're good. Now, if you've gotten to this part of the video, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead and subscribe and make sure you like the video. Drop a comment and let me know if there's any of these points that I've made that you also didn't know about investing and what you'd like me to talk about next. So now I'm going to show you how I invest in REITs and just how I invest in general. So I invest using Trading 212. And in Trading 212, I invest in ETFs through my stocks and shares ISA account, as well as REITs. Obviously, a stocks and shares ISA account is tax-free. Once you maxed out, then you obviously max that out. So far, I'm just basically using that to start my journey. And yeah, it's been going well. We've come to the end of this episode and I want to say thank you so much. I will be doing more lifestyle content. Basically, vlogs are coming through very soon. Also just sharing my creative journey and the creative journey I'm actually on and what it looks like being in film festivals and traveling. So I can't wait to share that just to spice things up, a little razzle dazzle to add to the mix, because trust me, I am not all about finance, but I really do enjoy talking about it. And seeing as there was some interesting comments in my last video, I thought I would drop another one just to keep the vibes going. Can't wait for you all to see that on my YouTube channel. Mwah.